Welcome everybody. This is the Microsoft 365 platform community call. It is October 25th. Next week is actually our next call is on 1st of November, which is quite wild. The winter is coming, at least in the northern hemisphere. My name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a product manager in the Microsoft 365 platform areas, and today we will have a really cool busy call with 3 demos. So we need to be careful from a timing, but we'll try to get to the demos in like 10 minutes past the hour, and then we'll have 15 for each of them. So Sheena Macker and Gary Trinder are going to first talk about extend Microsoft Teams apps to Office and Outlook Mobile, which is a bit of a theme today. In between, we'll have Hugo Bernier to talk about Power Pages and general availability there and how to get started. So what is the latest status there? And why we're talking about Power Pages in the Microsoft 365 platform call? Well, they are highly related between each other. So Power Platform and Microsoft 365 work better together. So we want to make sure that people are aware of all of these opportunities across our Microsoft Cloud. And then as the final topic of the day, Alex Terentiev and yours truly are going to talk about using your SharePoint framework solution also in Microsoft Teams Outlook and in the Microsoft 365 app, which is actually the new name of Office.com. It's complicated, and they announced the new name in Ignite, but it's a bit of a complicated from a marketing perspective. But as said, Sheena and we, as in me and Alex, are going to talk about a bit about the same thing. So our topics are a bit overlapping, but it is actually a good thing. So we're going to talk about all of those opportunities today. And Alex is going to do a live demo for me. Gary is going to do a live demo for Sheena. Now, before we go to the actual demos and stories of today, quick recap on all of the assets which we have available. Let's do this relatively fast. We have 2 YouTube channels. Please subscribe on both of them so you'll stay up to date on what's happening related on the videos. There are certain differences in the channels. Both are super valuable. We have a lot of open source assets available, but as it might be difficult to find the right assets directly from GitHub, we have a lot of sample galleries available. And I have a really cool update related on the master sample gallery, which is aka.ms M365 samples or address. And if you're wondering that there's too many URLs and things to remember, luckily there's only one, which is aka.ms M365 community, from where you can find all of the blog posts related on our recordings, all of these other links and assets and open source projects and so on. Now, we do have quite a few Microsoft 365 developer community calls, or platform community calls would be probably a better way of saying that, because not all of these are technically for developers. Again, depending on the definition of a developer, maker, configurator, and so on. But there's so many different opportunities of adjusting the experience in Microsoft 365. Or in Power Platform. Now, we do have our weekly call, which is this one, happening every single Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time, 2 to 3 demos presented by Microsoft employees, so directly from the PMs or engineers or from cloud advocates who are working on the topics or creating the topics for you. We do have then Adaptive Card, Microsoft Identity Platform, Office Admins, and Power Platform calls, which are happening on a monthly basis. In a specific time zone, and if you download the recurrent in one, you will get the timing in your calendar. And then we have our 7 a.m. Thursday series, which is either Microsoft 365 Power Platform Community Call or Viva Connection SharePoint Framework Call. So these are 2 bi-weekly calls, which are happening bi-weekly on Thursdays at the same time. So technically, every single Tuesday, 8 a.m., every single Thursday, 7 a.m., we will have a community call. Now, we're not asking you to be in all of these calls. That's not the idea here. We want to make sure that we provide you enough of guidance and assets across the massive stack what we have in the Microsoft Cloud. And then you can watch the recordings, you can watch the videos, you can watch the demos based on your own speed and based on your own interest. But of course, you are more than welcome also to join on all of the calls. We always want to celebrate our community attendees. How do we get started in Microsoft 365? Our Microsoft 365 developer program is by far the fastest way or the best way to get started at the aka.ms M365 Dev program. There was some delays and problems related on programs, but that should be now working properly, so you can sign in, register, and get yourself a free tenant. We also provide a lot of free training material from the Microsoft Learn assets, and so there are specific Learn modules, so you don't have to pay to learn to get started on the development. There are great material which we're keeping up to date with quarterly updates at aka.ms M365 Dev and Learn. We also have 2 different podcast series. one with Jeremy Fake and Paul Scheffelin around Microsoft 365 Developer Podcast, or that's the name. And this week they had Ben Summers, the marketing director related on Microsoft 365 platform and Microsoft Teams, talking about the latest innovation in the Microsoft Ignite. So those latest announcements from 2 weeks ago from Ignite conference. And then on Microsoft 365 BMP Weekly, that is a show where we talk about also the latest news and articles, and we have a visitor like MVP or community member or PM or Microsoft member, and we talk about their career and how they got to work in Microsoft or be an MVP and so on. This week we had Kristin from the Power Platform site, MVP, who got an MVP 3 weeks ago, and really nice and funny discussion on her career development. Now, we have a nice update related on our Microsoft 365 sample gallery, and this is the easiest way to actually find those samples which are available in GitHub, provided to you by Microsoft or by the community. And we do welcome your contributions here as well. We just got an updated number, and we are past 1,400 samples from this one centralized location. We are also rolling out new experiences on the UI perspective, so it will get easier for you to find the relevant sample for you. So you can do multi-filtering, you can find the latest, and search will be working more efficiently and so on. And all of those is coming up in upcoming days, which is really, really cool. Now, as you find a sample from GitHub, you might feel like, okay, so now I found a sample in GitHub, or you might want to contribute a sample in GitHub. You might feel that you don't have the skills to get started. Luckily, we got you covered with our Sharing is Caring initiative. And David, can you do a quick update here?
Absolutely. Thank you, Vesa. Well, in the interest of time, friends, again, this is a program that provides you hands-on guidance. As Vesa mentioned, all those samples, they don't happen by magic, and they're not all Microsoft employees. They're by amazing contributors like yourself. But as you mentioned, too, it can be a little frustrating or confusing when you get into that GitHub landscape and how to use the samples or even how to contribute. So these are live, hands-on sessions, safe space opportunities where we don't record them, so you're free to work with other members of the community and with us. We'll walk you through step-by-step how to accomplish a variety of the task topics that you see in upcoming sessions. We are getting new scheduled dates, we promise, with the dates and the way they've been. It's been a little challenging to make sure we find time for everybody, but we are working on that, and we'll have some new dates by the end of this week. So don't hesitate to sign up, aka.ms/sharing is caring. Vesa, back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, David, on that one. A quick update also on the 30 days of Microsoft Craft Challenge, which is happening on November. So from November 1st to November 30th, we'll have a great gamification, a learning challenge which is targeted for beginners, students, and fresh graduates, and really, really great guidance on learning the power and what you can do with Microsoft Graph in the JavaScript development using Graph Toolkit and all of those awesome APIs which are available. So great 30 days event starting next Tuesday, actually. Really, really cool stuff. Now, quick update on the latest on the news site. Not significant amount of news this week, but let's do a quick recap in here. There was a recap on Ignite announcements. So the Daniel Carasso's 5 ways to boost your collaborative app development was really a recap on those 5 main announcements and main topics related on, which was announced within Ignite. The second Ignite related thing was from Rabia Williams on Ignite 2022, highlights from the Microsoft Teams app builders, really, really cool topics mentioned and showed there as well. We also had an update from SharePoint team related on removal of SP Home APIs from SharePoint Online. Quick point in there, these APIs are never been documented, never been supported, but we know that some developers cracked the HTML pages, which you should never do, and started using those APIs. So we wanted to provide transparency that these APIs are going to go away, so you might actually get impacted on those. So we'll probably want to double check that from the code. And then there's additional guidance related on preventing throttling in your application by using rate limit headers in SharePoint Online, and this applies for Sesam REST and Graph APIs. So really, really cool guidance as well. And then there was an update last night from Microsoft 365 Developer Program Instant Sandbox update. There apparently was some technical issues in September or forward or newer tenants, which were coming out from the program with a guidance on that you should re-register to the program. So please check out that news article if you just registered to the Microsoft 365 program. We are humans, mistakes happen, and there's something happens technical behind the scenes which caused some issues. Now, later this year, we will have the European SharePoint Office 365 and Azure conference in Copenhagen. That's in 29th of November to 1st of December, if I remember correctly. And there was a cool guidance on a SharePoint blog by Mark Cashman on that one, and then a few updates on the Microsoft Teams blog on the future of employee learning, which you might want to check out as well. Now, specifically on the Microsoft Teams platform side, we also have Vajid on the call to talk about what's happening in those document updates.
Thanks, Vesa. Hello, everyone. I will walk you through the Teams platform updates now. First one is about the navbar overflow menu. You can now add multiple actions to the upper right navbar and build an overflow menu for extra actions in an app. To configure and add multiple action in navbar, you need to call set navbar menu API, which is present as a part of Teams client SDK. You also need to set the display mode for the enum property to menu item. The display mode enum defines how a menu appears in the navbar. Note that you can add maximum of 5 actions here. With the second feature update, you can generate a deep link to share to the app to stage and start or join a meeting. When a deep link is selected in an app by user who is part of an ongoing meeting, then the app is shared to the stage and the permission pop-up window appears. But when a user isn't in a meeting and user redirects to the Teams calendar, where they can join a meeting or initiate an instant meeting, which is a meet now. Once the user initiates instant meeting, they can add participants and interact with the app. Note that this feature is currently in developer preview and only available in Teams desktop client. So these were the platform updates. If you have any feedback or suggestion, please do post it on aka.ms/Teams platform feedback. The links are available in the footer. You could also follow us on Twitter and configure to RSS feed to get regular platform updates. Back to you, Vesa.
Excellent. Thank you, Vajid, on that one. Really cool to see. Every single week there's something new in here and updates on the existing docs as well. So awesome from that perspective. Absolutely. Now let's then do a quick to get a picture mode. So those who are willing, you can enable the video and we'll grab a GIF animation on here. No rush on waving yet. We'll wait for the 50 seats to fill in. Hopefully I will put the recording on, but we are recording until we get the 50 seats in the room. No rush yet. Of course you can wave already. It's okay. It's okay. But no rush. Let's wait 3 more people to join. Thank you. Oh, there's some yellow thing on the. Oh, it's a hand. Okay, I got it. I can see that. Let's see if I can fit in as well. Fabian, no watching back. So you're waiting for some Brian on the back row. I saw that. Do we still have seats free? I guess we still have 1 more or 2 more. I guess it's time. Let's do the hand waving, everybody. We're already recording this. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Really awesome to see, again, this many people joining on the community call. This is a great, it's almost like we are in person, isn't it? Almost. Thanks, everybody, for joining. We'll grab a GIF animation out of that one. Thank you. Thank you for being part of the community. Now, then we are ready to go for the actual stars of the day. So we'll start with Sheena Macker, and apparently Gary Trinder is going to help with the demo. But I guess, Sheena, you have some slides to show first. So let's start with those.
Hi, everyone. Just give me a second. I'll just get my slides. So thanks, everyone, for joining today. So we have a very quick overview. So there, we all know that the Teams app that are available on large screen across different platforms, Office and Outlook. Now they're also available on the Android platforms on mobile. So my name is Sheena and I'm from the Office mobile team. And we want to introduce today and we want your feedback that how do these apps currently flow into Office and Outlook mobile and how can you test this experience. So we have a short demo lined up today, so which Gary will take you through how you can access these apps inside Office mobile. And I'll also, I'm not sure how many of you actually know what Office mobile app does. So I'll also go through a quick overview of the app itself. Office mobile is basically, it's a content hub. So you can access all your Word, Excel, PowerPoint files, all your content across the M365 is something that you can access inside Office. So right now we have the content from Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and we're slowly building up on adding more content. You can access your Teams meetings, you can access all the recordings, and other content types that you can access are media, different media content types like images, voice, your SharePoint files, and all your stream files as well. And apart from this, apart from just accessing the content and using the different functionalities that are available with the content, we also have a lot of actions related to PDFs and images, such as sharing, collating images, and also extracting text, and also doing a lot of annotations on PDFs. So all of those kind of actions are available inside Office app. And yes, so every tool that you can think of, we're trying to build that would make productivity easier for our users is something that we are envisioning for Office Mobile. And then the next thing is, yes, being a Microsoft 365 app, it's secure by design. So the user data, everything is secured here. So that's the basic overview of what Office Mobile does. Now, I'll just give a brief idea of where we are in terms of how this app is used. So currently, we have a monthly active users of 114 million plus, and even the monthly active devices are 174 million plus. And it's rated one of the top 10 productivity apps on Google Android Store. So yes, I would tell you to check out this app and explore this for building your Teams app for this Office Mobile app as well. So now that we talk about the apps, the Teams apps that are now being available on Office Android, we are focusing on the Teams personal tab apps. So the apps with launch pages. So we do not support the ones with chat pages, but the ones with personal tabs are supported on Office Mobile and also on Outlook Mobile. So currently this feature is in preview in Office Mobile, and it's very soon, within a month or so, it will soon come on Outlook Android as well. And the iOS will fast follow post that. So we're working on that. Would be very soon we'll get that there. So to test it out, you can join the beta program in the Office apps Google Play Store, and you can join the beta. You can click on the join under the beta section, join the beta section, and the apps that will start showing in Office Mobile will be built using the Microsoft Teams JS version 2. So we are sharing the links in the chat as well, where you can look at how different like how can you upgrade your app using the Teams toolkit, and what all are the prerequisites for building these kind of apps. And then the Teams app manifest also has to be a version of 1.13. So currently, if you go to the Play Store, so any Android, so the Office app Android version of the one that we are stating here, anything above this will support this feature. So currently, the apps that are available are Power BI, Mural, and SurveyMonkey. So these are available in the preview for testing. So we also have a sample app, Northwind Orders. So I am not somehow able to run this, but it's okay. I think once Gary gives us the demo, it will be very well, you can understand how the app can run. Okay, over to you, Gary. I think let's run through the demo once.
Perfect. Thanks, Sheena. Okay, let's share my screen. So as Sheena mentioned, so we're going to have a quick demo here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can set up your developer tenant, the tenant that you're using, so that you can basically build a custom app and have that running in the Android Office app. And we're going to do this all locally as well. So I'm going to run through all the steps to basically enable you to get started building these new apps that can be surfaced in the Android mobile app. So the first thing to mention is this is in preview. So you're going to need to be on the target release. So in a developer tenant, it's not enabled by default. So if you come into the admin center and you go into settings and organizational profile, go to the release preferences and change that to targeted release for everyone. Just to note that it takes 5 days for the Office parts to provision, and it does actually take all those 5 days. I've tested it recently. It's something that hopefully we're going to speed up, but yeah, definitely something that you're going to need to just go and switch on if you haven't done already. If you have, then perfect. What I'm going to suggest as well is we're going to go through this is we can run a virtual version of an Android phone on our machines. There is a studio that's available. It can be used on Windows, on Mac, and Linux and Chrome OS as well. So I'm going to show this on a Mac, but it'll be exactly the same on Windows or whichever operating system you prefer. So those two prerequisites out of the way, I'm going to show you a running app. So this is just a very basic app, which I've scaffolded using Teams Toolkit in Visual Studio Code. Just as simple as creating a new app and then selecting the SSO-enabled personal tab, which is extending that Teams app across Microsoft 365. So that's all I've done. I've gone through that wizard. I've created the project. I've hit F5. Things have been provisioned in the background that Toolkit has handled for me, and you can see that it is actually running in the terminal. One thing to note, there is a slight modification that I've had to make here, and because we're running in a mobile device, a virtual device, it doesn't know what localhost is. So by default, everything runs through localhost through the toolkit. What I've done is I've added some configuration options in here, and I've run ngrok in the background just so I have a tunnel from that device to my machine. So it's something that you'll need to do. You don't have to use ngrok. You can use any other tunneling service, but you need to tell add this into the app manifest so that it knows not to go to localhost. If I go into the template, I'll scroll down to the section where this configuration option is used. So we have here this config manifest, FX resource, front-end hosting. Basically, it's just injecting those ngrok values into the manifest so that when that's published into Teams, it's all wired up correctly. And the same for the valid domains as well. So this app is running, and I'm going to skip back to my browser and show you this. So I've come to office.com in my web browser. I can access the app through the apps pane. So I can see there's an extend across Outlook and Office. There we are. This is my local app that was running in Visual Studio Code. This is now running in my web browser. So let's go through the steps to get this running on an Android device. So here we have our Android device, which is running. So this is using the Android Studio, and I'm just going to quickly bring this up. So in the Studio, when you've installed it, there's a virtual device manager. So here's where you can create different devices to use. You'll probably get one by default. Just a bit of a warning, it doesn't include the Play Store, which you will need. So when you go to create device, you can choose the different hardware, which is you can choose any Pixel, so Pixel 6, go to next, and it will give you a list of operating systems to use. Pick the latest, but you'll see that there'll be images that actually contain Google Play Store in there. So make sure that you select one that has the store, otherwise you'll have to start again because you'll think, where's the store, and I can't install the apps. So I have this running. So let's switch to the actual Android device, and I have the Play Store open. So open the Play Store, search for Office in the store, and you'll find the Office Microsoft 365 app. So let's just click into that to view some details. So Sheena mentioned to get this working, to display apps in the Office app, you actually need to join the beta program in here. So when you actually first install this, you'll need to just enroll yourself into the beta program. It won't take too long. It'll take a few moments for that to provision. But once you're in, then you can open the app and have these new features. So let's open the app. So this is the Office app that is running. I've already signed in, so I've signed into the same tenant which I showed the web browser. So the first thing that you'll want to do is to actually go into the settings in this app, and you will want to enable remote debugging. So come in and turn that on, and I'll show you how you can remote debug through Edge for the code that's actually running on the device. So if I come back to the home screen, again, we've got the apps section, same as what we had in the web browser. We have all the different actions that Sheena was mentioning previously. And if I scroll to the side, we've got the Power BI app, SurveyMonkey, and we have our extend across Teams, Outlook, and Office app. I can click that and it opens up the app, which is the same. It's the same app as which was running in my browser. So now, okay, great. I've got this running. How do I debug this? Well, handily, if I go to Edge, Edge has the ability to inspect Android devices. So if you go to edge://inspect and you have the emulator running, you have the ability to open the DevTools. If you click the inspect button, here it opens the DevTools and we can inspect the running code. So here we are, the TypeScript files. So index, the components, and there we are, our tab file. And actually, if I show a bit more code, we've got the welcome file here. So I can set breakpoints like I normally would. I can actually then click around in the actual device, and that will trigger the breakpoints to fire. And that is it. Back to you, Sheena, for the summary.
Thanks, Gary, for the quick overview. So quickly, we've had a good demo so far. What I would require from you guys is if you could try out this experience and share your feedback with us so that we can build better features, and let us know how do you feel about this feature and what more tools would you need to make this a more seamless experience. So yeah, thanks everyone for going through this demo.
Excellent, really cool. Thank you, Sheena. Thank you, Gary. Awesome stuff. So really cool. I wasn't that Edge Chrome trick was pretty wild. So super cool. Good to get that one recorded. Now Hugo is ready to go. Hugo, take it away.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Hugo Bernier. I'm a principal program manager in the Dynamics 365 and Power Platform Community Success team. So I'm not a sales guy. I'm not a marketing guy. I'm here to make sure that people are successful. People in the community are successful with using our products. And today I'm super excited to talk about Power Pages because it became generally available just recently. So let's talk about what Power Pages is. Before, if you wanted to build an app in the Power Platform, you pretty much had access to Power Apps, but really Power Apps was intended for internal employees, right? And you could build Canvas apps or model apps. But if you wanted to extend the reach of your Power Platform, you wanted to start working with your citizens and your customers and things like that, the only thing that you had really available at your disposal was Power Apps portals. But let's face it, Power Apps portals was super powerful. I mean, it's been around for a very long time, but it was not necessarily a maker platform. It was not necessarily low-code friendly, right? And that's really where Power Pages comes in. So announcing Power Pages. It's generally available as of October 10th. I believe we announced it on the 12th during Ignite. And so Power Pages is really the low-code, data-centric business website development. And why am I saying all these words with hyphens in them? It's because, we used to have SharePoint where we could build websites, and I loved it, and, I'll miss them forever. But we never really had a platform where we could build websites easily that were data rich. And what I mean by that is if you're trying to just build a website like Hello World and, here's my company logo and here's our brochure, I wouldn't recommend using Power Pages for that. That's really not what it's designed to do. There's lots of other way cooler and way easier technologies that allows you to do that. But when you start looking at connecting your data, right, connecting to your Dataverse data that you have, and we'll talk about other types of data, that's really when Power Pages comes in, because you can actually connect all your Power Platform cool stuff, like the Power Pages, Power Apps, Power Virtual Agent, Power Automate, and Power BI. You can connect all these things with Dataverse and all the connectors behind the scenes, and then, expose that to a website that can be publicly accessible and it could be made anonymous or authenticated. So where would you use these kinds of things, right? I just said don't use Power Pages to build brochures. Let's say you wanted to, you're a government agency and you wanted to build citizen services. That's a great way to do that. So instead of forcing people to download PDFs and print them and scan them, you can actually have them fill the data, and it goes directly in Dataverse, right? Where you can now, internally your employees can use Power Apps, or model-driven apps, or Canvas apps to actually manage these applications. So application processing obviously is a great use of that. Any kind of registration, right? Or licensing type of things. Professional organizations or SROs, self-regulating organizations, like the accountants and the electricians and all these organizations, where you have to come in and provide information so you can get a piece of paper that says you're allowed to continue doing your business. Frequently asked questions and partner portals, my favorite, right? The ability to empower your partners, your vendors, your suppliers to come in and work with you directly. Now, I've said that Power Pages is designed for the makers, right? But I should really be cautious, right? The power of Power Pages is that it is really designed around empowering Fusion teams. So we're talking about the whole family here. The makers who maybe understand their business best, right? Better than anybody else. And they understand the content they want. They understand what the forms need to look like. And then we have the pro developers who maybe are experts in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and they want to make things, a bit cooler and more animated and more cool looking. And the IT pros who maybe want to get, custom DNS and certificates and things like that. This whole team needs to come together, right, to make sure that we are building sites that are secure and that are, beautiful, but that are connected easily. So what are some of the features? Because Power Pages was available in public preview before October 10th, but we've added some new cool things. And let me show you some of the cool things we've added. The first thing is what we call a reimagined design studio. And so this is something that allows you to have a really what you see is what you get experience for editing your pages. And that would really be more for the makers who just want to build content, they want to connect to data, they want to build forms and things like that. So let me show you how that works. So the first thing you would do is when you have created your site, you would go to this area right here. Let me highlight that. And so that's where you can see navigation, and that's where you can do things like add pages and move pages. And when you add pages now, you have the ability to pick from predefined templates, but you could also use custom layouts if you wanted to. And as soon as I do that, it adds the page and it creates the layout that I want, but then it creates placeholder content that I can go in and start editing that content. So once I'm in a page, I can actually go create sections. And as I mouse over sections, it'll actually give me the option to add new sections. And let me see if I can highlight this button. There you go. So when you add sections, you can see the types of sections we have. Now, for those of you who are using SharePoint pages, that might look familiar, right? And we're really trying to go in a similar fashion here, where you can create sections in your page. And then, once I add a section, let's just add a section quickly. All right, let's add a section. When I add a section, instead of having a list of web parts that I would get in SharePoint, I have a list of components that I can add from Power Pages. So I have components like text, buttons, images, videos, Power BI, forms, multi-step forms, lists, and so on. And in fact, there's little 3 dots there. You can see right here. If I click on that, I see now I only have 2 options, but anybody that's familiar with these types of technologies will probably imagine that, hey, eventually there's going to be a lot more components that are going to show up there. All right, so once I've added this section and I've added components, I can actually just go edit the components and see what they look like. But instead of watching me, boring to watch me edit some sections, let me show you an example of the what you see is what you get experience, right? So this is a form that I've created. This is a list that that comes with one of the templates, and I can just edit that list directly. Let's show you another example. So now when I'm looking at the navigation elements, so the pages in this case, I have page settings, right? And page settings are things that will allow me to control the URL, and things like that. But the new cool thing is that I can now control who can see each page. So I can decide whether someone needs to be authenticated, whether they need to be an administrator, or you'll see, I have like a C1 ASP. That's a custom role that I've created that I can assign to people, and then only those people will be able to see that page. And that's a really cool way to differentiate between what people can see and cannot see easily. The other thing that I can do is I can go to the styling workspace. And the styling workspace, I've covered it in previous calls and previous demos. So you can still go edit the fonts, you can edit the colors, font sizes, and things like that. But one of the cool things that we can do now is I can actually go manage my CSS. And more importantly, I can upload custom CSS. So you will see that I have right now the upload button. I can just go click, and if I had a CSS for my corporation, and the cool thing is Power Pages uses Bootstrap, so I can actually use Bootstrap definitions and color definitions to quickly make my site look like it belongs to my corporation. And some of you might say, oh, I'd really like to go crazy and edit the CSS and, customize everything. You can, but think about the audience that we're aiming for here, right? We're trying to build professional websites that extend the reach of your organization. We're not trying to create like a pretty site with flowers and stuff like that. You can if you want to, if that's your brand, but we're really trying to kind of maintain your corporate identity. All right, and then with the styling workspace, we also have the data workspace. And so the data workspace is really what allows you to decide what data you want to show in your site. And so you can see here I have some tables. I can pick pretty much every table in the Dataverse, or I can connect to tables. But this is the important thing, is it connects to your Dataverse environment and makes it possible for you to show the data. Now, there are permissions, and we want to make sure that the only way that people can see this data is that they are given permissions. So don't think that now because I've connected this to my Dataverse environment, everybody can see every table and every row. The one thing, though, that I should point out, and I know I'm going really fast because there's so much stuff I want to talk about, but one thing we should make sure that you know is that Dataverse allows you to connect to virtual tables, right? So external data. So let's just say I have a friend that happens to have a SharePoint list, right? That is the system of record for, I don't know, my list of offices that I have, or a list of, different regions or anything like that. A list that's maintained one place in SharePoint. And I want to actually connect that list to my Dataverse data, and I want to make it available through Power Pages. You can do that using virtual tables. All right. Once I've selected kind of my tables and I want to go set up my permissions. Now here in the admin workspace, or the setup workspace, I can do things like decide, for example, things like, do I want to have external CDN? Do I want to have a custom DNS, or different things like that? I can also control the visibility of a site and the authentication. Right. So, and one of my favorite features now is kind of the site checklist, basically my go live checklist. So I can actually go through every step that I need to go through to get ready to go live. And this is something that an IT administrator would love as it's time to get ready to go live. The authentication that I talked about here, I can actually control whether the site is going to be anonymous or authenticated and what kind of authentication mechanism I want to use. And then once I've done that, I can control the permissions. So I can say here what I'm able to do with every table that I've decided to expose through Power Pages. And I can control things like who can read, write, create, delete, append to. And I can even assign it to different roles in my organization. And of course, you can create different permissions to different roles. And the site visibility, right? Don't think that just because we're allowing makers to build a website that automatically it's going to be a publicly available website. We do have the ability to create private or public, or set the site to be private or public, and share that site with other people. So if I want to collaborate with them as we're getting ready to go live and I want them to test it, I can do that as well. So again, this is a really quick way to securely get your site going. But wait, if you order now, you can also connect to your flows, and you can do all the portal management stuff, but you can create what you see here as progressive web applications, right? So I can actually create an app that will be deployed on your mobile devices that represents your Power Pages website. And you may say, well, what's a PWA? Like, you've probably used it. If you use Twitter, and I'm trying to remember of all the ones, I have a list here on my previous slide. Hold on. Twitter, Uber, Spotify, Starbucks, Pinterest, Yumly, AliExpress, Alibaba, those are all PWA websites that are exposed as applications. And so that's one of the cool things you can do. All right, so far we've talked about the professional, the makers, and we've made an experience for professional developers, but I just wanted to wrap up here by saying we have kind of the ability to create multi-step forms, and it's very easy to do, but there's also something else that the geeks in the house would be interested in. And this thing is, and I mean that in the nicest way, by the way, calling everybody geek. One last thing I want to show you is I can actually go to my page that I'm editing, and maybe I'm a professional developer and I want to add some cool stuff. So yes, I can preview my site, but you'll see here the site that I have, it looks cool, but it doesn't have cool animations that I like. I'd like to have hover effects and things like that. Well, I can actually now go to, let's say, a website like Animista, which is a site that I like to use. I can find animations that I want, but you could pick animations from wherever you want. You could copy the animation, and then you could, so here's Animista. You could copy the animation, and then you can go get the CSS and the CSS keyframes, for example. I'll show you an example of that. Just going to get the animation, and then I'm going to go paste that in my page and show you the cool experience. All right, so copy, come on, find an animation. Of course, because I'm trying to rush now, it's trying to slow me down. All right, so I've got my animation, CSS. I will go to the page, but you'll notice in the upper right corner right here, I have edit code, and this is the cool Visual Studio Code icon. And if I click on that, it actually allows me to open this page in Visual Studio Code and edit it on the fly, using all the beautiful features that we love from Visual Studio Code, so syntax highlighting, auto-completion, and cool things like that. So see here for that page, I have my HTML, my CSS, and my JavaScript, and I can actually go into the individual elements to copy and paste or to edit some stuff. So quickly here, I can look at the HTML, and I know that the HTML is writing a card, and I see the JavaScript that is driving that page that was automatically created for me by the template. But if I go to the CSS here, I can actually paste the CSS that I found from Animista. I'll paste a keyframe, and then I'll show you what it is, what it looks like, and I will be done. So here, let me rename this to card hover, because I want to be able to have a hover effect. That's hard to say. Have a hover effect over my card. Copy, paste the keyframes for my CSS. And that's obviously something that a pro developer would love to do, not necessarily a maker. When I save this, I'll be able to now go back to my site. And then let's show you what it looks like when I go back to my site. Let's go preview. Yes, okay, there you go. All right, so now if I preview the page, you'll notice that that same page now has, and if I can mouse over the page, there you go. It now has a very subtle shadow effect that I copied and pasted with that subtle kind of movement that automatically got added. So there you go. Power Pages allows the whole family, right, the makers, the pro devs, and the IT professionals to work together to build rich data-connected websites that connect to your Dataverse in a secure way. I look forward to show more stuff later, but I look even more forward to see what cool stuff you're going to be able to put together. Thank you. Back to you, Vesa.
Excellent. Thank you, Hugo, on that one. Cool. So the last thing today, we want to talk about something what Sheena a bit touched on her introduction, which is as starting from build, we've been able to have Teams application exposed in the Microsoft Outlook and also in Microsoft 365 app. Well, that's the new name of Microsoft.com. So, and starting from 1.16 of SharePoint Framework, you will be able to use SharePoint Framework to do this. So we want to do a quick intro and recap on why, what again was the SharePoint Framework all about? Why does it matter? Why would I be interested in it? And then the new opportunities, what we have here. And then Alex is going to do a live demo on this one as well. First of all, SharePoint Framework is the easiest way to build your enterprise solution for Microsoft 365. The name is really confusing. We have this problem internally, even after the level of marketing, because they keep on telling that it's SharePoint solution, but it actually could be something else. And we're going to go through the different scenarios in a second. It provides you an automatic single sign-on, so you don't have to worry about authentication. It's full built in the framework. It provides you automatic hosting, which is a really big benefit as we're having discussions with enterprise customers who want to have their code not necessarily running outside of their tenant, or even they might be against on you hosting their code within their own Azure subscription. So automatic hosting without any additional cost, any additional operational overhead with SharePoint Framework. Development experience is consistent across all of the different development or platform, and we are using industry standard tooling. So no proprietary development tooling or things. We are using Microsoft Graph, Web Stack tooling, React, or whatever JavaScript framework you want to actually use. Now, starting with the new announcements within Ignite, we actually had some new capabilities available for Microsoft 365. And again, these are coming in 1.16. So already before Ignite, we've been able to build for SharePoint. We've been able to build for Microsoft Viva Connection. And if you're wondering what are those two logos, the first logo is Microsoft Viva logo, and the second one is Microsoft Viva Connection in the top. You've been, of course, being able to build experiences for Microsoft Teams. And now with the support of extending those personal applications also to Outlook and Office app or Office.com, you're able to build in there as well. The really cool thing here is that it's exactly the same piece of code, which is automatically hosted without any operational cost, with automatic single sign-on, with industry standard tooling. The same piece of code can work as a application page, as a web part, as a personal application, as a Teams tab, or exposed directly in Outlook and Office.com or Office 365 app. So you're basically maximizing the return of investment for the experiences. And just to quickly call out, so of course, we can build experiences with SharePoint Framework and SharePoint. That's kind of given in the name, but then it starts already getting confusing. You can use the SharePoint Framework to build experiences in Microsoft Teams, and those are the UX experiences there. You can build experiences in Microsoft Viva. The left side picture is the new Viva Home, which was announced a few weeks back. You cannot see that yet, but it's actually coming quite soon, and we'll share more opportunities on that as well. And starting then with the 1.16, and Alex is going to show this, we can actually take the SharePoint Framework solution and expose that directly in Outlook and also in the Microsoft 365 or in Office.com. And you'll get access on the API surface level as well using the Teams JavaScript SDK v2. But rather than me explaining this from a picture perspective, let's actually jump in the demo in Alex's screen and see this one in practice.
Okay. So basically, as Vesa mentioned, and as Gary showed as well, now we can host personal Teams applications in Office.com and in Outlook. Basically, it means that if you have personal app developed using SharePoint Framework, you can do that as well. So currently, I'm in Microsoft Teams. I have this rule them all application, and as you can see, we know in SPFx that currently we are running in Teams. I have the same application in Office.com. Again, same rule them all application, but now the app is running in Office.com. And the same for Outlook. When I'm in Outlook, of course, we are running in the Outlook. So let me show the code and what it means from the code perspective. So first of all, right now, when you sync to Teams from SharePoint app catalog, we will not provision all the information to Outlook and Office.com because sync to Teams is now still working with the old version of the manifest. So to make it happen, you need to create your custom manifest.json file, and we have documentation how to do that. But the really important thing is you need to use manifest version 1.13 or 1.14. In that case, your static tabs, which is personal app, will be provisioned to Outlook and Office.com. Everything else is basically the same. So it's a standard manifest for Teams. You use the same content URL as usual with Teams logon and Teams hosted app.spx with the component ID used as an ID for your application, etc., etc., etc. So everything else is completely the same as for any other SPFx solution. And as soon as you do this custom manifest, you create a zip file, archive, then you create a SPPKG as usual, and you still can use sync to Teams functionality from app catalog. Now let me show you in the code how it will look like in SPFx 1.16 and in the next beta that will be released probably in the next week or so. So we are changing the typings for Microsoft Teams Teams.js. It will be actually Teams.js v2 now, and you have all the goodness from Teams.js. From there, I'm just getting the context, and as you can see, the APIs are changed. Previously, we had like Teams.js.getContext, and we should pass a callback function. Instead of that, we are doing Teams.js.app.getContext, and now it's finally a promise. When we got the context, in the context we have the host and we have the name, which is actually an enum. And based on this name, we can get if we are in Office, in Outlook, or in Teams. So pretty easy. You have other things like client type. In that case, you can kind of understand if you are on mobile, if you are in web browser, etc., etc. So richer context is available in Teams.js v2. And as mentioned, these typings will be part of SPFx 1.16. But to be honest, even if you want to play around with it right now, you can do something like Teams.js like that as any in your current solution, because in the service side of the things, we already load in Teams.js v2. So basically, it is available. The only piece that is still needed to be kind of processed is typings for third-party solutions delivered as part of SharePoint Framework Generator. And that's all I have.
Excellent. So, and before you stop sharing, 2 questions. This is the new default template then from a code perspective?
Yes, the code perspective will show this get environment message with these SDKs Teams.js and how to work with the context. So basically, before that, we had like if we are in Teams or if we are in SharePoint. Now we will have if we are in Office, if we are in Outlook, or if we are in Teams.
Yeah, excellent. And then the other point, which was good to call out as well, that even though the hubs, meaning the Outlook, well, the experiences in GA, some of the features are only available when you put the products in preview, right? Do you remember what are the exact status related on what are the preview requirements for making things happen?
Yeah, so for now, and it should change relatively quickly, I believe the team side domain resolution is not working on all the tenants. So if you want to play with it, you will need to provide your actual tenant domain for now. But it is something that should be rolled out pretty quickly.
Excellent. Now, and of course, as part of the release of 1.16, we'll provide additional documentation and guidance on all of the different steps and guidance videos and all of that, so people can do this super easily in the future. But thanks you, Alex, on this one. Really, really cool stuff. Let me go back on the slide. Good teaser on upcoming features, which are coming super soon. So that's why we wanted to, it was kind of fine to show it today. We were almost shipping the new beta today, but then we have a few days of delay on that. So that was kind of the thinking from a timing perspective. Now, the recording of this community call is available within 24 hours at our Microsoft 365 community YouTube channel. Please do subscribe on that one. Easiest way to stay up to date on the latest videos and what's happening there. Follow us on Twitter, either in Microsoft 365 Dev or M365 PMP, to follow up on the latest announcement in the blog post and videos and all of the cool stuff what is happening within the platform. The next Microsoft 365 platform call is happening in November 1st. It is quite horrifying. It's already November, a week from now, so 8 a.m. Pacific time. And all of the community calls are at M365 calls. But that's it for now. Thank you everybody for joining. Have a great rest of the week. And thank you for awesome discussion once again in the chat. And thank you for all the feedback and suggestions and so on. We'll follow up on those for sure. Thanks everybody. Have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.